All right, welcome to Coach Convos. This is our very first one, and our guest today is Terry Hessbrook, athletic director at Ithaca High School in Ithaca, Michigan, former head football coach at Ithaca. And for those of you who are unaware of Ithaca football, there was a stretch that Terry was so successful with his program in terms of winning state championships that I threatened. They lost in the semifinals one year, and I threatened to start fireterryhessbrook.com because he had clearly lost touch with what's going on in the game of football. But we're glad to have Terry here today. He's got a great message with a program that he has and his family have started. And I just want to start off, Terry, tell us a little bit about your background in athletics, both as a player and as a coach.
Well, I got a chance, Scott. I graduated from Ithaca High School in 1985. I played under legend in Michigan high school football coaching, Jim Ahern, and I got a chance to go to Olivet College. I played 4 years at Olivet College for Glenn Stevenson. Glenn later became my father-in-law, and so that's worked out really, really well for me. We've been married 31 years, so that's good. I got it when I graduated. I decided I wanted to coach, and I worked as a year at Elma College as a running back coach, and a position came open at a high school over on the west side called Montebello High School. And I applied and got the head football position, and I can tell you I struggled terribly. In 5 years, we won 2 games. We went 2-43 in my very first head coaching experience. And after 5 years, I lost my position, or they laid me off, and I pretty much figured I'd never coach again, to be honest with you, Scott. And luckily, Jim Ahern, as I'd mentioned earlier, was at Ithaca still. And he called me and he said, "We have a teaching opening in Ithaca." And I drove as fast as I could to get to the superintendent's office to drop off my resume. And that was 1996, and I was a volunteer assistant defensive back coach for Ithaca High School in 1996, and I tried to learn as much as I could because I had crashed and burned so badly in my first stint as a head coach, and I couldn't figure out why and what it was. And so I was an assistant for Jim until 2004, when I became the head coach, and Jim had left for a position in the state of Florida.
And then very shortly after that, because I know we went to the state finals in 2008, and I think for the next decade almost, you were there every year. So it was like the Terry Hessbrook show at Ford Field. So, your story is a great story from a coaching standpoint, because, Montebello was a tough situation, and you learned from that. You didn't fail at Montebello. You learned from that. That situation, and you grew as a coach and came back, and now really one of the most amazing stretches of success in the history of the state of Michigan. So young coaches out there can kind of use you as an example from that standpoint. So you retired from coaching a couple of years ago, and I think what your family has gone through in the last year or so is something that is everybody's worst nightmare, and I think you all are turning it into something positive. And so, can you tell us a little bit about your story in that regard?
Well, our youngest, our son Brady, finished his high school football. He played for me in 2020, which was also the COVID season, and I think we played our last high school football game in January. And we're thankful that, we're able to do that. And he was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to play at the next level at Wayne State University. And so I made a decision at that time to retire from coaching and kind of follow his career. And, I just thought I'll just sit in the stands and be a dad and follow him throughout whatever, wherever his career may take him. Well, after a injury-plagued freshman season he was redshirted, but he was still injured at Wayne State. He had left the football team as a sophomore, and he was no longer with the program his sophomore season. And on January 27th of 2023, Brady made a 2-hour trip from Detroit back to Ithaca here in our home, and made the decision to take his own life. And so my wife and I, my family, we have been going through absolute hell, for lack of a better term. It's been absolute hell. And we decided that we want to help others, and maybe stop or another family from having to go through what it is that we're going through. And so we started what we call the B4 Foundation. A lot of us called Brady, we called him B, and of course his jersey number was the number 4. And so in the days that followed his passing, the B4 Foundation was created, and we hope to create awareness for mental health and to just get help. Before you do, B4 stands for before you do something, before you hurt yourself, before you hurt others. Reach out to someone, talk to someone that loves you, whether it's grandma, your mom, dad, a coach, your best friend, whoever it may be. And so that's what we hope to do is to create awareness. Brady was he was an exceptional young man, not just because he was my son, but he was, we've learned a lot about Brady in the months since he passed, and it's been 6 months now. And the impact that he had on others has really made us as a family feel good, about things that he was doing. And he was the type of person that always wanted to help someone else. And unfortunately, he just didn't ask for help for himself. And he's a very empathetic young man, and cared a lot about others. And unfortunately, he wore a mask and was pretending to be somebody maybe that he was hiding the fact that he was hurting inside.
Well, and it's an epidemic really in terms of, I think, particularly among male athletes. Because we're indoctrinated kind of into the macho culture that you take care of everybody else and
Yes.
you don't ask for help. And I think that's the amazing part of what you all are trying to do. What kinds of things will the B4 Foundation be doing kind of moving forward to raise awareness?
One of the first things that we did here at Ithaca High School was we created a scholarship in the amount of $4,000 since he was number 4. And we were able to grant 2 of those scholarships, $2,000 apiece this spring for the class of 2023. As we get stronger as a mom and as a dad, I hope that we can come and speak to teams and maybe share Brady's story. I don't want to panic any parents out there that may be listening, but there's some signs that maybe we missed, or not maybe, we did miss, but we didn't know that there were signs either. And so from that standpoint, we just want to try and educate people as much as we can. We have a website, the b4foundation.org. We have we're a presence on social media, as you probably have seen. We, on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and we're trying to reach not only the young. We've had a lot of adults reach out to us and say, you've really helped me. And like you mentioned, it's an epidemic that this country is experiencing right now, and just far too many people, males especially, are not reaching out for help. And we want people to know that this doesn't. Mental health is a disease. Poor mental health is a disease of the brain, and it's something that we need to educate people on, and we need people to talk to somebody. Again, before you go and do something that is going to hurt so many.
Right. Well, I know on social media I've seen the T-shirts everywhere.
Yeah,
pretty cool to see the message going all over the world.
We've sold over 2,000 T-shirts in just a short amount of time, and the amount of people, I think that, like, as I mentioned, the impact that Brady had, so many people maybe see a little bit of Brady in themselves or in their son or their daughter. And they realize that, this could be me, or this could have been me. And I think that I think that's why it resonates so well, and it's so popular is, if it can happen to Brady Hessbrook, then it can happen to anybody, because he was just as normal of a kid as there probably is in America.
Well, and it really rang home when I came up for the visitation, and you see, obviously Ithaca was a very supportive community when you're winning state championships, but the support from the community that shows you, I mean, a great kid, good student, great athlete in a loving and supportive family and a loving and supportive community. I mean, it can happen to anybody.
Yes. The community support. And I want to mention, not just Ithaca, but the surrounding communities have been so good to us. We hope that next spring that we're going to be able to present a scholarship at all 6 schools in Gratiot County, with the money that has been raised to help offset some of the college costs, as that continue to skyrocket and burden families and burden students, and maybe make that that journey a little bit lighter. But if you were there at the visitation, you saw what a great impact he had on so many people, and it's been quite an experience.
Well, and I think the impression that you've made on so many people too, in terms of your reach as a coach, because there was I'm not from Ithaca, but there was a lot of people there that I knew that weren't from Ithaca either,
Right.
and they were all football coaches and all people that have been touched by Terry Hessbrook. So, Terry, I want to thank you for coming on with me, and I know this message will get to people, and I hope young coaches and really all coaches can find a way to incorporate Brady's message into their coaching, to try to cause or help even one kid in their program from making that kind of a decision. So thank you very much. I appreciate your vulnerability and your willingness to come on.
Thank you very much for having me, Scott. And coaches, if you're out there, just talk to your teams. Just talk to your players. Make sure you're checking up on each other and making sure that everybody's all right.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right.